Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. In this video, we're going through the North Melbourne versus Gold Coast game to start the Super Saturday, of which we have 4 games to go through. But anyway, let's just jump into this game recap set. So anyway, starting us off, we have the North Melbourne Kangaroos 13-11-89 to the Gold Coast Suns 21-15 1-4-1. Gold Coast massively ran away with it, given that North held the lead with about 45 minutes of time on game remaining, and they held it by 8 points. So I think it was something like 11 out of the last 13 goals or something like that, probably even more. No, 11 out of the last 13 sounds about right, or maybe 12 out of the last 14. That Gold Coast kicked to really just run away with this game in the end. The last quarter from North was pretty pathetic, to be honest with you. So, North Melbourne, Jai Simpkin, he just continues to score really well across both. He probably is going to be near enough around that top 6 forward, but I think I'd rather go with the safe options such as Caleb Daniel and guys like that who I know are going to be top 6, or I know are going to be comparative to a Jai Simpkin, who I'm not 100% sure if he's going to be top 6. So I'm just going to go with the safer options in the forward line at the moment. And that's sort of my plan overall. And it's worked out pretty well this week or two, is just this going for top of the line guys, gunning for them, and not really looking at the value guys, because some of the value guys we'll see in the last couple of weeks haven't really produced the value. And one of them is a Gold Coast Sun in particular. Luke Davis-Uniacke, after signing a 7-year, $1.3 million a year deal, I think it was, to the end of 2032, he came out and he looked like he wanted to take this game away from the Gold Coast Suns. His clearance work was actually really, really outstanding. And if he hadn't kicked 3 behinds, you'd probably be looking at, I know that North lost by 50 odd, but his 3 behinds were at crucial stages, I felt like, when the game was just closer. So if he kicked a couple of those ones, not only would he have a 130 or so SuperCoach score, but North probably would have come pretty close to this. If they gotten a goal to get up by 2.5 goals rather than just 8 points, it would have been a lot, I think, manageable for North. Harry Sheezel had one of those games that's just sort of, he's in and around it, doing his stuff, sort of handball happy a little bit, and ends up with a 100-102, which is going to be top of the line and the defender line, to be honest with you. I know I think he gets midfield DPP at the end of this week, so we'll see how that how the DPPs flow out, because that could lead to some not rash upgrading, but some quick upgrading, as a couple of guys get some decent positions that they probably not that they don't deserve, but that make it easier to upgrade. And so yeah, it will be interesting to see how that flows out. Caleb Daniel had one of those, he was actually really good, at least I thought. Yeah, maybe 1 or 2 really bad handballs, but that was about it for him. Dylan Stevens, no one else here really matters. Tristan Cherry came back down to earth with a 73-83. He got pummeled by who was it? Jared Witts. Yeah, Jared Witts absolutely just smashed him. And yeah, he just didn't have the disposals. He still had 6 tackles, which half the tackles I feel like are him getting a secondary tackle for a lot of the main guys' work, such as like a Harry Sheezel initial tackle, and then he just brings the guy to ground by just almost tackling Harry Sheezel to ground. So that's how I feel like Tristan Cherry gets half of his points. But he did get quite a few points from hit outs to advantage. I wouldn't be surprised if it said he had like 8 or 9 in the end. And yeah, just shows that he's still under the weather, not under the weather, but still that hammy is bothering him, and he's tanking in price massively. And the ruck roundabout is crazy. We've got only, I think, in fantasy, 2 rucks having an effective average of over 100 in Rowan Marshall, and also, I forget who it is, maybe Jared Witts. Let me just double check this actually. Stat Center, because it's not, Darcy Cameron's on 100 at the moment on the dot effective average. But if we look at that, oh yeah, it's TDK is averaging 105, and then you've got Rowan Marshall averaging 101. This is a real dip year for the rucks. Darcy Cameron is effectively averaging 100, and then you've got Max Gawn at 97.4, as well as Tim English at 97. So you've got quite a few there, as well as Jared Witts finally falling down. So you can just see this ruck line is massively unders throughout, as you see with the red in all of the price change graphics there. And then basically no one else mattered. Finn O'Sullivan, 54.69. So he's probably going to get decent cash gen in Supercoach Fantasy, not so much. Still glad that I held because he's still just going to generate cash and can be that sort of 20-second scorer in the midfield if chaos happens, I feel like. And then no one else here really matters. Then we go over to Gold Coast, and Joel Jeffrey had a really, really good game for a sort of half-back flanker or winger. I'm not 100% sure, but it seemed like he was popping out quite a lot, 70 meters out from goal. And he did end up with 13 marks, so I wouldn't be surprised if that was a half-back flanker. Matt Rowell, he had a really, really dominant display in the middle again. 15 contest possessions, 11 clearances, 99-126 split. That was amazing from him. John Noble, he really butchered the ball early. 7 clangers in the end. 71% disposal efficiency. Probably lucky to have a positive AFL Fantasy to Supercoach ratio. Duke Miller, 97-106. He's just not going to be able to score those 120s that we saw, 4 years ago or so now? 27 touches, 3 marks, 4 tackles. It was still a really good display by him. He really dominated. I think it was a late third or early fourth, I want to say, where he had, I think, 2 or 3 clearances and a goal in the space of about 3 or 4 minutes. Noah Anderson, 94-113, pretty decent from him. Jared Witts just weathered off the Tristan Cherry because Tristan Cherry is one of the more sort of dominant forces for North Melbourne, or one of their cards up the sleeve that they have type of players that can really change a matchup. So Jared Witts just weathered that, did the team thing, and I mean, he probably won the matchup in the end, but it was a lot more, it took away one of their trump cards, I would say. And then Bailey Humphrey, and this is what I'm talking about with guys that like him, even Ryan Marrick, to the point that he's gone, I think Marrick's gone 86-84 in the 2 games that we've had since we sort of talked about him a lot in that trade targets week. 86-84, that's 170 points. That's not damaging enough, I don't think. Bailey Humphrey's similar. He's gone 63-74, if I remember, or it was a low 60 score and a 74. So in terms of Supercoach, because those 2 were the massive trade targets a couple of weeks ago, going into round 4. And they've just sort of failed. I wouldn't say failed. I would say more Bailey Humphrey has failed. I would say that Marrick hasn't failed. It just hasn't been that much of a game-breaking trade in. As I think he levels out soon, does Marrick. Closey, Powell, Reed, Rioli. No one here basically matters because they don't have any rookies there. Do the Gold Coast Suns. Ethan Reed's still doing pretty well for what he's... and he also had 5 free kicks. Wow, he just did a lot. But anyway, then we move on to the Carlton West Coast game. Carlton finally getting a win. And let's just go to it. Sammy Walsh, I said he was a good trade in. I thought that if he could get his disposal efficiency better, he would be a huge potential to be top sort of 12 in Supercoach. And he's ended up doing that. There we go. He ended up 126-141. He ended up with 37 touches, only beaten out by George Hewitt, who had 39. How the heck has he done that? He also kicked 3 goals, did Sammy Walsh, so 126-141. That was huge, and just an all-round perfect game from him. And for those that would have had him or brought him in, that was huge. I don't know if many, some would have brought him in fancy after that 130 last week. Then you get George Hewitt. What the heck is going on here? How has he pulled this off? Like, it just doesn't make too much sense to me why he's done this, how he's done this. Cripper's spent more time forward, which probably does help him out, but he just seems to be the guy that's winning the most disposals for the Blues each week. And he ended up with 39 touches, 1-2-1-1-3-2, and he's definitely going to come back into calculations. I want to hear what the boys say tomorrow night about that. Adam Chero, 101-117. He was outstanding for those that still have him. He's just producing what you need him to produce, simply put. And a really bad miss from me just to go with him over like a Callahan, especially given Callahan had the early buy that he wasn't going to move. I should have just gone with Chera, and that was a really poor move. But it is what it is. Hopefully can trade my way out of that poor move. McGovern, Sard, Haynes, Doc. No one else here really matters too much. Charlie Curnow, 85-98. If he can get back to his best, and it does suck that Harry Mackay's out for a 2-week period because of concussion. I think, he might actually survive because or come back in around 7. That is because of the 12-day or rule or whatever it is for concussions. I think it's 12 or 10 days. Not 100% sure. Then you have, Paddy Cripps ended up 84-114 3 goals, 3. And yeah, these two will just be interesting to see how they sort of go, as Carlton, they don't really have any injured guys this year. It's just sort of underperformance throughout the team. Ollie Hollins is starting to produce those 80 performances, but it wasn't enough early on. You really needed these 80, 90 games early. Cottrell, Durden, no. And then you get here, Tom de Koning had a horrific fantasy game, just didn't get involved. He was on, I think, 2 or 3 at quarter. He was on 9, I think, at quarter time or something like that. And he ended up on 75, 118. So you take the 118 in SuperCoach. That's a huge score for a game that he had a stinker in. So yeah, you take that and you run. Will White, doesn't really matter. Motlop, Carroll, Williams, Lord, Wiedering, no one else here really matters. Harry Mackay out, could matter in the long run. And then we get to West Coast. Jack Graham, 99-101. He was someone that was flagged on the radar late into the preseason. It's someone that he could do well, but he's probably just going to be shifted around a little bit. He's played a tagging couple roles as well. And so he was able to just get out and have 20 touches, 5 marks, 9 tackles to get to the 99-101 split. But West Coast are so bad that he's not going to get a positive SuperCoach split in a while. Like a proper positive split, plus 20 or so. Liam Duggan, negative split, as you see there, even though he went 90... Jack Graham went 95% disposal efficiency, and he went at just above SuperCoach split, multiplied just above 1. Liam Duggan, 88-84, 19 touches, 7 marks, 4 tackles, and a free kick against. And he went at just below SuperCoach split there. So just shows West Coast really going to cop it just in terms of that. Baker as well, just not really producing top end. Marek, he relied on, I think it was 9 or 10 kick-ins to get to the score. And this is my real worry about Marek here, is that if we look at the Marek 78, he had in total 10 kick-ins. And of those 10 kick-ins, he played on 10 times. And also, he had 3 or so opportunities to get the second kick away as well. So he probably profited, I would say 39 out of his 78 points directly from kick-ins. And I want to actually see if we can double check this. I don't know if it will be up, but it would be a great way of showing you this if it is actually up. Let's just see. I don't think it's going to be up, but I'll show you in terms of the kick-ins. He's getting 24 points per game from kick-ins. And you can see in the last game as well, out of his 73 fantasy points, he had 30 points from kick-ins. And I'm pretty sure, I don't know if he had 10 kick-ins that game against Essendon. I will just double check quickly. Because I know he definitely had some run on GWS, sorry, not Essendon, GWS. If we go to Marek's game there and then scroll down here, you'll see he had 8 kick-ins there. So he had 8 kick-ins for 30 points. So we got a couple of cheap 1-2s there as well. So Marek's getting about half of his points from kick-ins. If some team kicks accurately, because we have just seen the Blues kick 17-19, if some team kicks accurately and only kicks 7, 8, 10 behind, Marek's score, his top line score, could potentially be somewhere down in this 60s range. And that's a real worry that he relies so heavily on the kick-ins to score well. Like 60 of his 78 points came from kicks. As well as at a huge efficiency because he just bombs it long, even though we had like 6 turnovers or something dumb like that. Tom Gross as well. He had a really good game and he'll be an easy trade-in for those on SuperCoach next week as he's on the bubble. Him and Caden Cleary will be the obvious rookies, I feel like, unless someone pops this today. Then you've got no one else here really matters at all. Hutchinson, for so much preseason hype, he's really died down a little bit. And then BJ Williams, 42-12. What is it with West Coast rucks just absolutely sucking in terms of the fantasy to SuperCoach split? We saw Archer Reed do the same thing a couple of weeks ago. And then Clay Hall as well, 52. Not the greatest in terms of SuperCoach, especially because he was on the bubble, but he'll probably just be replaced by Tom Gross as, he didn't have the greatest display, but we've seen him have better displays as well. If he hadn't had the two free kicks against, that's probably also a 60 there, which isn't the worst, I would say. And then disappointing to see Hamish Davies come on through the sub, which is just a dumb rule, but we'll hopefully Hopefully they change that for next year. Then we get on to the Western Bulldogs, a Brisbane game. I'm trying to keep this one under 30 minutes, these total recaps. Western Bulldogs against Brisbane. Western Bulldogs did the classic Dogs thing of being up 40 or so. It was 39. And then somehow blowing the lead to the point that they lost by 21 and they kicked a goal with like 6 seconds to go. So yeah, they got blown out of the water in the third and fourth quarter. I believe they were up about 30 at halftime, and then they just, absolutely had a stinker in the last. If I just go here quickly, the last quarter was 3 goals 1 to 7 goals 4. And in the second half as well, it was 14 goals 5 to 5 goals 5. So they won the second half, did the Brisbane Lions by 9 goals. And also you've got to factor in that it was 2 goals to 1 to start the quarter before the Brisbane comeback. So it was actually, they were on about 11 goals 10. So it was something like a, 35 to 70. So it was something like a 83 to like 25 run or something that the Lions went on. And it was eerily similar to that run that the likes of the Melbourne Demons had in the grand final all those years ago. Anyway, on to the game. Tim English, he's actually starting to return. Scores that are decent. He's, I think, beating out Cherry on both platforms. I kind of wish I'd gone Tim English over. Well, then again, it would have presented more value, I feel like, but the top end scores aren't there comparative to the Gawns that can go plus 30, 40, 50 on his fantasy score with his SuperCoach score. Ed Richards, a 92-113. I know that Rookie had him and he's done really well again this week. And so, yeah, his sort of, not pods, but sort of underpriced primos have really pulled out again with Richards and Chera again for him. So he's just having an outstanding year. Libba got to a 101, just shows do not go on these guys, especially when they're max price, because you don't know if they're going to be top 8. And then Sam Darcy as well, 82-87. Not the greatest display from him, and kind of proves the point. I think him and Thilthorpe proved the point this week of not going for top line key forwards. They suck, especially when they don't kick goals. I mean, he kicked 2 goal 3 and got to an 87 in SuperCoach and took 8 marks and was taking pack marks, and it was crazy. He had 11 contested possessions out of 16 for a ruckman. That's really, really good. And he had a goal assist or 2 or something like that. So, yeah. So Sam Darcy is probably going to be still average 80, 85 because he's still going to have those 150 games. But that's just not top of the line, I don't feel like, in SuperCoach or Fantasy this year. Sanders, 80, 84. He looked really, really good in the first half. He had 61 points at halftime or something like that, 57, 61, and then just shut off in the second half, coinciding with the Bulldogs shutting off. Then you get Rory Lobb, no one, Bailey Dale, 80, 68, 68 splits. When he doesn't do well disposal efficiency-wise or kick a goal or have a good goal assist or something like that late, he's just way too reliant in SuperCoach on this disposal multiplier, basically, is what you could almost call it, disposal efficiency multiplier. And that's why he just isn't turning out, and that's why he's going to really drop in price and could be an interesting buy in 4 or 5 weeks, I feel like, as he really drops off. Joel Fraser as well. If you didn't get out of him, then you got stuffed with this score. And then no one else here really matters. No real good rookies, I don't feel like, and they're not really good rookies anyway, positionally wise. And we have Bont coming back in a week or so anyway, so that's not going to help. Hugh McCluggage somehow got his way to this score here with a 111, 135. That was absolutely huge. He just seems to be the guy that just continues on doing what he wants. And he had 32, 3 and 6. Zach Bailey, you're going to get these games from small forwards or medium forwards, I would say, or some mid forwards that they just score 3 goals and have 20 odd touches. And that's exactly what Bailey did. And he ends up 101-17. Don't flinch at it. Jasper Fletcher had a really good game, but sort of stole it a little bit from Dane Zorko. So please don't do that. But also it was kind of a small round, so you didn't really get those high mark numbers from Zorko and stuff like that. Levi Ashcroft had a really, really good game. 22 touches, 6 marks, 3 tackles, and a goal. He's still, I would say, the favourite for the, Rookie of the Year or whatever. The draftee, I forget what the exact name of it is. And then you've got Josh Dunkley, 98, 88. he was outstanding in the first quarter, had 40 fantasy points and like 30 SuperCoach points, and then decided to shut down. And I'm glad that I did the trade in the end because of Dacos' score. Yeah, I didn't end up bringing in Josh Dunkley. It was a choice between him and Merritt. And after that first quarter, I went, oh no. So I'm glad that I profited about 35 points from that, from going Merritt over Dunkley. And I have the likes of Whitfield playing in a 3 or 4 hours in SuperCoach to hopefully outdo Dunkley. Because if that is the case, then I've made the right choices. Will Ashcroft, 97-112. He's just providing again. He's probably, I have a feeling he's not going to be top of the line because we saw what happened with Neil and stuff in that display, and he can be better. But he's still going to be top 15, top 18. I feel like you're going to almost have Neil, Ashcroft, Dunkley, and also McCluggage all be top 18, top 15 in the midfield line, which is going to be crazy for a singular side. Zorko, yeah. Hitwood, Berry, Andrews, Morris, Cameron, no one else here matters at all. And then we get into just double checking. Nope, Jared Berry, for those that wanted him, he's just providing that off score that probably you shouldn't have gone for anyway. Then we get to the last game of the recap here of the Saturday games. Melbourne against Essendon. Essendon ran away with this in the last quarter, and it proves to me that Melbourne just can't kick a score. Their forward line is in disarray. They don't have a good medium forward anymore. Bailey Fritsch he kicked 2 goals in a minute, but aside from that, he's been horrific all of this year. And Max Gawn is trying to do whatever he can, and just, yeah. Max Gawn, 118, 145, 22 touches, 4 marks, 2 tackles, 49 hitouts. He had 17 contested possessions, 8 clearances at 68% disposal efficiency. What more could you ask for? He is back in contention for the R1, and yeah. He's gapping it with Cherry now. If we look at SuperCoach, I don't know if they've updated SuperCoach in terms of the players playing 5 games. I will just double check that. If we go here and we go to the filters and we go to the ruck department and we go to the averages, you will see Tristan Cherry 110.3 times. We can just do the maths here quickly. So we've got 441 plus 83. So that is 441 plus 83 equals 524 divided by 5. So you got 524, which is a 104.8, and then you have Gawn on a 406 plus 145, which equals 551 divided by 5. He is averaging 5.4 points better than Tristan Cherry in SuperCoach, and then in Fantasy, Tristan Cherry is down at 89.4, and Max Gawn is 8 points better than him. So he is 8 and 5.4 points better than Tristan Cherry. That was a big decision. Kind of glad that we got the right call in the end, almost, in a way. Yeah. Especially now that we're out of best 18. And it would have been great. I feel like it would have been more massive if he'd done this in a... well, I guess best 22, it actually helps a lot more. I don't know the math behind it, but yeah, he's just better than Cherry at this point. Ed Langdon, it really shouldn't be in their best interest to have Ed Langdon, one of your best ball winners. Christian Petrarca, he's a guy that I don't know whether I want to jump on him this week or not, or wait a couple weeks with him. Just because I don't know whether he is going to be a top of the line forward. I need to look at the numbers behind it because Melbourne are a terrible side, so he's not going to get good breaks in the SuperCoach splits, etc. Piggott, Oliver 98 fancy is all right. SuperCoach wise 86, not the greatest. 5 clangers, a couple of handball clangers which really hurt him a little bit. Rivers getting a slight role in the midfield this week. Viney did all right. Harvey Langford producing again, 23, 5 and 1. He was actually outstanding. Fritsch, Chandler, McDonald, Windsor. Lindsay, 49-48 split, not the greatest. He's currently the lowest scorer for me in SuperCoach. And yeah, he got managed quite a lot, 64% time on ground. He should be better for it. He was also playing lockdown as well. So yeah, in the long run, it feels like he's going to be better. And we're going to have to take, I think, maybe no cash gen or little cash gen in SuperCoach at least for the next week or two, as he just correct that 9 or whatever, that 12 or whatever, just flows out of the system. And by the time that happens, you should be fine. Like if we just do this and we go, let's go to the likes of Lindsay. here. That's still rucked. If we go Lindsay here, you'll see 29 break even. I think it even sort of self-corrects in itself. Let's just do this. So here he's going to have, I think, a 59 break even next week, but then it starts to go to 27. And if we say he's going to score a 65 or something, if we go 65s and then 48 or whatever in this game, you'll start to see the cash gen starts to backflow again. Really starts to catch up, and he starts to go 23k, 24k, 18k, 14k, and suddenly for 193k, if he's just going 65s, he gets to 300k. If you guys can't see that there, that's what I'm looking at. And so yeah, I'm not too worried about him yet, given that was limited minutes. If you extrapolate that to an 80% time on ground anyway for him when he was playing lockdown, if we just go 80 divided by 64, times that by 48, and you get him right dead on 60. So I'm not too worried about it, to be honest with you. I think he can still average 70 down back. Petty, Spargo, Melksham, Van Rooyen, Sparrow, Sharp, and Henderson. Henderson's an out this week. He, for Supercoach purposes, that display was horrific, and he got subbed out, rightfully so. Then you get Zach Merritt, and this is what I was talking about with Josh Dunkley. For Josh Dunkley to have that start, and then 5 hours later for Zach Merritt to come out 36-point winner over him. Absolutely huge. Dunkley's coming back down to earth. It feels like those 130 guys are really having those not poor weeks, I would say. But if we just go to this and we go, I don't want Lindsay, I want the averages. You've got Jack Sinclair still averaging 130. Josh Dunkley, 127. That'll jump down to, what's that? 597 divided by 5, which is about a 1. That's not even 120 anymore. He's in the one, because of that performance, I believe he's now in the 119 to 119.6, I think. Jack McRae, he could easily come down. Dane Zorko as well. That 126 is going to drop to a 117 or 118. Hugh McCluggage is still holding at that 126. Tom Libber, he's going down. Whitfield still to play. DeConing still averaging near enough 120. Took Miller coming back down. Jared Witt coming back down. And Luke Jackson not playing, so his effective average is a lot lower. Then you have George Hewitt still up there around that 120 marker. But yep, Zach Merritt, huge. Nick Martin, a great end to the game. I think he had about a 45-point last quarter in fantasy, and that contributed as well in Supercoach. I think he had a really good last quarter. Let me just double check. But it was a really good second half. It was a 32 last quarter alongside a 26-point third. It was, where was he? In 29-point first, and then, second, and then also a 30. So he was just all-rounded. 26 is a low, 39 is a high, or whatever it was, and ended up in a 1-2-1, 108. Archie Roberts as well, just an outstanding game. Got a lot of late ball, which was really good. Will Setterfield, probably, you would say, won the matchup with Clayton Oliver. He got to 10 tackles, 21 touches. Sam Draper put up an effort against Maxi Gawn, probably won around the ground. But definitely in the ruck contest, Maxi Gawn won. I feel like, I don't know what they're going to... Let's just check the AFL ratings, and I'm trying to keep this one short. Here we go. 1 second here. So we've got 10 minutes until the game starts. Let's just go to my stats here. Ratings. You see Sammy Draper, best rated on the ground. That's surprising, but oh well. I guess no turnovers really does help Sammy Draper out there comparative to Gawn. So fair play. Didn't think it. Don't think Sammy Draper could potentially be a solo ruck long term comparative to... He just got monstered without the likes of Nick Bryan there, who looks to have done some knee. I don't know exactly what it was, but we'll see about that. Ridley, Durham, Menzies, Shield, Zach Reed, huge on both fronts. A 90, a 104 split. Having him and also the likes of Riley Bice is just D5, D6. Just keep him there for 2, 3, 4 weeks, etc. And just let it ride there. Have upgrade around them, so you've got 4 premiums in the back line, and then that'll be that. That'll be me, I think, in Supercoach. I'll have Zork, Sinclair, Sheasel, and someone else. Let me just double check. Let me actually just double check here on my team if it will load, but I don't think it will. What is it? Zorko, Whitfield, Sheasel, and also Sinclair. We'll be back there next week, and then you'll have the 2 rookies. So yeah, he was outstanding, and when he gets the non-disposal work, non-disposal work, 10 marks, 90% disposal efficiency, huge, and that's why he just got that plus 14 on his fancy score. Zador Hawley, if he gets out of the sub role, he could be interesting. I'm looking probably at ways in the near future to move on Pryor. 54, his break-even snaps back soon. So yeah, he might not be this week as we move on, probably Davidson, as if you look at the sort of scoring for Davidson, or sorry, the break-even. He's a winger. He scored 60s in pretty much every week other than that 120 week. He's done his job. He's up to 300k. So yeah, he'll be moved on. And it's just about picking the right rookie this week that doesn't get the sub vest next week, because you got potential for Cleary with 4 ins and only 1 designated out for him to be potential sub. Al Hawley started in the sub. Ross, I don't think will be sub, etc. So you just got to wait and watch there. And then Pryor, 54 SuperCoach points. That was all right, but not the greatest. And Kako's probably maxed out. We're starting to get to the point where these guys that when they have a low score as a rookie, you got to shift them. Or that their break-even catches up with them, you got to shift them. So guys like Pryor probably gets 1 more week just because the likes of Henderson is there, unless I want to hold the likes of Davidson. So it will be basically a decision between Pryor or Davidson. I feel like Davidson's probably going to get the nod because he's 100k more expensive. But anyway, I think I've done that video in pretty decent timing there, getting it at least recorded before the start of the Freo game. Freo Richmond game, that is. But if you did enjoy that video, remember to like and subscribe, turn the notification bell on so you know when I upload. If you are listening on Spotify, give me a follow and a rating over there, and I'll see you guys tomorrow for the team reviews, and then Tuesday you'll have the Sunday night game review. So I'll see you guys then. Bye guys.